does make a difference because voters need to be informed, and if we notice something is missing in that, then media monitoring should be able to pick that up. Especially in the municipal elections, it's absolutely critical to make sure that the people on the ground get this kind of information. It's life-changing for them, and quality of life is very important. Well, I know that men occupy the space in institutions and generally hog it, and also so one needs to monitor that and make sure that you do have you do apply, when you're monitoring, you check how many sources are actually women, which I think is critical. And also women on the ground need their lives to be improved greatly. And gender is critical from that point of view, to make sure that their voices are heard, and B, the whole thing is to make sure that gender information is being conveyed in a gender sensitive way, and that the sources are also gender conscious. I think I mentioned earlier that fairness is a very difficult concept. We have, you would have, for instance, very small parties demanding equal time on a station, when their voices can be heard and possibly should be heard on local stations and maybe even community stations. And yes, they can be heard on more mass media, more national media, but they cannot demand the same time as the bigger parties, because inevitably the bigger parties are going to be the ones that will be running the municipalities, and we need to be sure that they are given. So this term equitable is a much more user-friendly term than fairness, possibly, because what you're saying is if you are in the running and it's a news story, you aren't going to run around trying to get, I think there are a couple of 100 parties in this municipal election. You're not going to run around trying to get their opinion on everything, but it's very critical that you get the major parties' opinions on things. And yeah, also, I think today, and I think about myself in 1994 monitoring the media, there are people are much more, how can I say, media conscious, whereas previously people weren't conscious of having a media spokesperson, having approaching, being proactive in terms of approaching for coverage. I think things are more fairer in that way, that people have more knowledge about trying to get coverage for the issues they want to get coverage for. That is the political parties themselves. I think that it's important we remember that, and we also remember that there's a distinction between news stories, which hopefully we will continue to chase as media, and opinion pieces. Certainly SABC is a public broadcaster and needs to be very conscious of how it covers the elections. The commercial media, obviously, some of them have their own sort of company character and portfolio, whatever, and they will tend to pay more attention to those stations and media, to those parties that really fits their own personality. Well, I think it is. And I do think that it's just how you see. I'm going to use the Phoenix example here because I think it's been critical. Sorry, I'm using critical so much. But it's going to be important in terms of if you think about the fact that there was misinformation about that, the fact that the leader of the DA could back those posters and be on TV making those statements that were absolutely incorrect about the facts about what happened in Phoenix. And thank heavens for the media and other political parties who challenged him and exposed that. But that generally, it's quite a sophisticated example of disinformation, misinformation, by trying to sell to the public that they were really more concerned about the fact that the people in Phoenix did not have any police protecting them than they were with the vigilantism that happened in Phoenix. Well, a lot of what happens on the ground, they are actually national issues as well. They are important in the sense of everybody wants to know the state of local clinics, how that is panning out. Everybody wants to know how the water situation is, sewage. These are all really national issues, but they are also issues that are at the coalface for people. I think it's important that they can be seen as important because they are national issues as well as local issues. Well, the issues they face are so, I don't want to use critical again, I think they are so basic and so important, especially for the future. They are our future, so we must continue to report on them and to allow their voices to be heard too. I don't think one should implicate them in anything or try to get statements from them about issues that are extremely complex and extremely heartbreaking for children to be exposed to that. I'm not so sure, but there are issues that are relevant to them, and there are issues that need coverage that should be non-stop, never mind the elections or not. Well, I do think that we've seen that journalists, because they are honest and because they want to get right down to the nitty-gritty of things, are not popular with political parties. They are exposed for their weaknesses and their lack of transparency themselves, and the journalists expose them, and I don't think they like that, but that does not give them a reason to be aggressive to them, and in certain cases even violent towards them. And therefore, I think protection of our journalists is one of the most essential things during covering the elections right now. I think there's always going to be a need for an organization such as Media Monitoring Africa. Thank heavens, not everything is shrouded in secrecy, and a lot of information is out there that we can expose and that we can follow up on when there is misinformation and disinformation. And I think that will only get harder as the years go by. And I think we have a very challenging future ahead for Media Monitoring Africa. But certainly the organization will always be needed.